Well, there you are, and here I am, your old pal Vic, back with you once again. Recently on Facebook, I posed a question to everybody. Uh, if you remember, back in about 2019, I did some album reviews. I'd done a couple albums, and I decided to bring that back. Since my performing schedule's been kind of trimmed back a bit, I talked about that in a video not too long ago. We're going to go back to reviewing some albums, just randomly picking, and literally randomly. I blindly picked this one. But today, for you, I'm going to do Village People in the Street from 1983. This is one of their lesser known albums, and a couple things to note. First of all, when it was released in 1983 on vinyl, as most albums were back then, and cassette, it was first called Fox on the Box. And the artwork on the album was it was a photograph of the guys from the group in a radio station with one of the members of the Ritchie family, which was the girl group that Jacques Morali and Henri Bellolo had produced and managed before they put Village People together in 1977. For whatever reason, I've yet to unearth the reason why. If anybody knows, feel free to comment why the album was retitled In the Street, which does happen to be the name of one of the songs on the album, and we'll go through the songs in a moment. But it was retitled for a CD release, plus another song was added, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, a little background on the album's production. So, Village People, of course, were a big disco act in the 70s. They were the face of disco, really, according to Rolling Stone magazine, and according to a lot of people in the industry and a lot of the fans. So, when the 80s rolled around, disco had fallen out of favor. It was yet to morph into what we would call house or dance music. So Village People decided to move with the times. They did an album in 1981 called Renaissance that failed to grasp the public. We'll talk about that on another review sometime in the near future. So this was the album that came after Renaissance. And in addition to changing their sound, this is more of an urban funk type stuff, definitely less disco. But we've also had some personnel changes on the album. So Renaissance was the first album to feature Jeff Olson, who now would take over the role as the cowboy. But also David Hodo, the construction worker, left the group shortly after the lack of success of Renaissance to go form a rockabilly band. This information I came upon by the E! True Hollywood Story that came out in the year 1999. He was replaced by a pianist and a great singer by the name of Mark Lee, the late Mark Lee. Rest in peace, Mark. He and I had been Facebook friends right up until he passed away for a number of years. But the other original members were still there, as far as Glenn Hughes, the biker, Felipe Rose, the Native American, and Alexander Briley, the GI. Now, the lead singer, this is where things get a little messy. Because as you know, since Live and Sleazy, if you're a Village People fan, since 1979's Live and Sleazy, Ray Simpson had taken over for the dismissed Victor Willis. So, according to some sources, Ray was still there to sing on this album, but when the final product was released, Ray's vocals only appear on 2 songs. We'll get to that in a minute. The rest were handled by a returning Victor Willis. Still don't have all the details on how and why this happened, but it gets a little confusing there at times. As well as the bonus song that was released for was put on the CD release features yet another gentleman. More on that in a minute. Now let's get to the songs. As I flip the disc over, you got this wonderful VP artwork on the back here. So the first song is the title track of the initial release, Fox on the Box. Now, like I said, one of the members of the Ritchie family was featured in the photograph on the album cover. However, she was not the female voice that shows up as the female DJ on the track. That honor belongs to Debbie Allen, who you might remember from the TV show Fame, and also a famous dancer and choreographer. Her sister Felicia Allen was married at the time to Victor Willis. Later on, of course, she would divorce Willis and marry Ahmed Rashad and become Felicia Rashad. Yes, that Felicia Rashad, Mrs. Huxtable from The Cosby Show. But she and Victor were not married for very long. But Fox on the Box, a nice, funky, danceable song, sing-alongable song, I guess, if you learn the lyrics. And then Debbie Allen's breathy, almost sexy kind of introduction as the radio DJ. Hi, you are listening to the best radio station in town. It's a nice effect, it really is, and it makes for a great song. And now the second song is the new title track, In the Street. Kind of a frantic beat to it, but still, very funky, very has a nice horn section to it. And of course, the Village People always had a horn section, as well as strings and even some woodwinds in their disco recordings. So it's nice to see that they carried that on. And of course, Jacques and Henri were still at the helm as far as production, and so they were still lending a hand on the songwriting, along with Phil Hurt, Peter Whitehead, and Victor Willis. Now, number 3, the third song on this album, one of my personal favorites, and the Village People went in yet another direction with a lovely ballad called Lonely Lady. This is a pure strings and orchestral type of ballad sung by Alexander Briley, the GI. And it was a beautiful, beautiful song, all about, meeting up with a lady who looks kind of lonely, and you want to approach her and show her that she doesn't have to be lonely anymore. Some great songwriting on this. I love the track. It's one of my favorites. This album's a real hidden gem. Well, we mentioned Ray Simpson. So Ray Simpson does lead vocals on Everybody Loves the Funk. Now, Fox on the Box, In the Street, Victor Willis was lead vocals there. But Everybody Loves the Funk, we've got lead vocals by Ray Simpson. Very funky, very danceable. Again, with a great horn section. A lot of great horns in this album. Probably even more so than their disco stuff. You get a lot of great saxophones and trumpets going on in this album. I love the sound. It's almost like almost Earth, Wind, and Fire meets Chicago type of fusion, But of course, VP putting their own spin on it. So Everybody Loves the Funk, great song. And in the chorus, a little do-do-do-do-do-do. Everybody loves the funk. Good stuff. And the rest of the fellas do a great job on background vocals. Number 5 is probably my favorite song on this album. Success, once again, sung by and lyrics written by Victor Willis. A very positive song about wanting to be successful in life and prioritizing your life, your family, your work, everything you do, and just being a success in life. So it's a great song. I highly recommend give it a listen. And this album can be found on YouTube Music, by the way. So you can, you don't have to go out and buy it, because let's face it, who's buying CDs anymore? It's out there on YouTube Music, maybe even out on Spotify or Amazon, I'm not sure. But YouTube Music definitely has this, because I know I've listened to it when I'm riding the bus here in Central Florida. Number 6 is Spaced Out. A bizarre song. Victor Willis on lead vocals once again, but some great instrumentation and a little bit of rapping going on. Victor Willis actually does a little rap, before the days of Run DMC and the Beastie Boys and some other guys hitting big. Victor Willis was rapping a little bit, so it's a fun tune. Then we have Play Bach, a little tip of the hat to the composer Bach, and a nice little jazzy tribute to Beethoven's Fifth at the beginning of it, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And then again, a little bit of like street talking, a little bit of rapping by Victor Willis on this one. Chorus is very simple, easy to follow along with. Is it one of my favorites? No, but it's not bad. There's not a bad song on here as far as I'm concerned. But if you know me, you know I'm a big Village People fan. So this is one I highly recommend. If you've never listened to the Village People's music in the 1980s, this is a good place to start. Renaissance is a whole different bag. We'll talk about that in a future episode. But, Play Bach is what it is. Radio Freak is the next one. Once again, this is track number 8, sung by Ray Simpson. And a cool song. It's almost like Ray saying, what do people see what do people see when they look at me? Talking about just how he's always listened to his radio at 7 days of the week. He's a radio freak. He just loves listening to the radio. And before streaming, for all of you under 35, before streaming and before, YouTube and Spotify, we listened to the radio. That's right. You got your music on the radio, and I'm sure everybody had their favorite radio station. So this is just a song about a guy who loves listening to the radio, and that's where he gets his musical joy, if you will. Now we get to number 9. This is the bonus track. This only appears on the CD. This track did not appear on the vinyl pressing of Fox on the Box. It's called America. Yeah, the Village People had a patriotic bone here. Or did they? Let me explain. The singer on this track at the time was credited as Miles J. Davis. But if you know music, there's a guy named Miles J. who has gone on to a wonderful jazz and contemporary jazz and soul career. He's done duets with Serena Williams, and he's had some wonderful music. His debut solo album, Miles, which came out in about 1988, I think it was, produced by Teddy Pendergrass. And yes, I have a copy of that. Hey, we'll have to review that one sometime. Miles J. had a wonderful singing voice, very deep, had a very soulful. He was almost like a Barry White or a Teddy kind of guy. Miles is awesome. Love his voice. But I come to find out through some research later on, some websites. I think on Miles's, I don't remember if it was his Wikipedia or IMDb, well, maybe not IMDb, it might be his Wikipedia page, that this song was a solo song that Miles had recorded with Jacques and Henri, and it was tacked on to the CD release because it's like, hey, we don't have anywhere else to release the song. So now people who wanted to upgrade their vinyl collection to CD and wanted to get Fox on the Box, now releases in the street, had this nice bonus track sung by Miles J. and just singing about how much he loves the United States of America. That final line in the song gets me every time. I believe in America. So, and then Miles would go on to become the policeman of Village People for about 2 years, from 1983 to about early 1985, and then subsequently would be replaced by Ray Stevens. Not the Ray Stevens that sings The Streak. This is a guy who spells his name Stephens, Ray Stevens. And before joining Village People, he would be a featured player on the TV show for kids, The Great Space Coaster. But we'll talk more about that in another review. But here it is for you once again. Village People's In the Street. And like I said, the photo for the front of the vinyl pressing was different. This photo appeared on the back of the album. But of course, once you get it to CD here, you get this nice VP logo and a track listing. And look at that. If I tip this upside down, made in Australia. That's right. I get this as an import. But it was released by Polygram here in the United States. And actually, I do have that version as well. Because back in the day when I had nothing better to do with my money, I bought CDs. Especially when it came to groups and artists that I liked. So, how do we rank In the Street? Where does In the Street rank in the Village People catalog? My first Village People review back in 2019, I'm trying to remember what the ranking was. I don't do thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't do a scale of 1 to 10. I think I do the macho scale. So 1 being not so great, and 4 being fantastic. And I believe I gave their debut album 4 machos. In the Street, I'm going to give 3.5 machos. While it is a great album overall, there's not a track on here I dislike. I do think there's a couple of weak links on it. Spaced Out and Play Bach, I think, are the 2 weakest links on this album. And not just because Victor Willis is doing the vocals, because I love In the Street. I love Fox on the Box. I especially love Success. That's my favorite song on the album. And a close second would actually be Radio Freak by Ray Simpson. And I love the bonus track by Miles J, America. So this is a great album to listen to if you just want some funky. It's not in the vein of YMCA and Macho Man. It's not a disco record. This is an urban funk. Early 80s urban funk. Like I said, it's kind of a fusion of VP, Chicago, and Earth, Wind, and Fire. This is a fantastic album. Give it a listen. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave some comments if you like, if you've ever listened to this album. Or if my review has inspired you to listen to this album, and then after you do, let me know what you think. Just please be polite. So, I'm Vic Solo once again. Village People, In the Street. Fantastic album. What will we review next time? I can guarantee you one thing. It won't be another Village People album because I don't want to be redundant, but I'll look through my collection and see what I have. Everybody be good. I'll see y'all real soon.